7, I'm sorry, yes. Item 7, the rebuild of the Lyttelton Museum. I think this is quite easy.
Yep.
And I think, so thank you, Tracy.
Just do item 7 and have
Just item 7 if that's right, and then we'll have a cup of tea. Yeah, but I'm just aware that these guys have been, Peter and Therese have been waiting. So.
Just so you know, there was a new staff recommendation in the memo that went to, so it's just a suggestion from you.
Right, okay. Okay, have you got a slightly revised one of these, Paula?
No, I've only got what you've got in your agenda.
So there's the memo that came from staff, which has got a revised set of recommendations, and I'll just signal I'd like to make a small amendment to that revised set of recommendations. Okay. So maybe if we could get the new staff recommendation up on the board, might be a good
would you
start.
like to do that?
Vicky, just while you're doing that, can I just raise a point of clarification? We had a petition that should have been received, but I don't think we've received it.
Okay,
So
you're quite right. We should have received the petition and we've just acted on it.
Room, but
yeah, that's right.
We could come back to it after this, or
no. Let's just we'll do it immediately after this. Yeah, yeah.
I'll just let them know.
Yeah.
So I've only just seen the staff comments there.
Right.
And I'm not sure that they are consistent with what the board is recommending. Oh, thank you. The board is really keen that the site be gifted, and I'm wondering whether it would be possible to draft a resolution which supports in principle the gifting pending a report from staff.
I think it'd be good to hear from them.
So really what you want is that council in principle supports the gifting of the site to the Historical Museum Society, and that staff are asked to work with them to explore the opportunity.
Yes.
And investigate the issues and report back to council. Is that what you're going to suggest?
That's exactly what I was going to propose.
Right.
So
just in terms of changes, guys, it should say that council...
So what are you looking at, Vicky? Are you looking at the same as we can see on the board up here, or are you looking at this new set of recommendations?
I don't know what you can see on the board up there.
Yeah, what we need put up on the board is this new set of recommendations from the memorandum.
This one, the first this one. It is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The council...
and then if we change that to recognise the council's in principle support for the gifting of the land at 33 London Street.
Yes. To the
Lyttelton Historic Museum Society.
And that ask staff to work with the Lyttelton.
Yep.
And could we capture in that the recommendation 2 above, which talks about proceeding as soon as possible?
Just a wee minute, can we just get one with the Lyttelton Historic to explore the opportunity for it to secure ownership of the council's property at 33 as soon as practicable?
Yep.
Yeah? Does that cover your point? Is that okay with you, Paula?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and then we're okay with the rest?
Investigate issues and options, report back to council via the community board for it. Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, okay, by the community board. Yep.
Okay, moved. I'll just get a mover and a seconder for it.
So I'm happy to move.
Yep.
Were we not going to look at if for some reason in the future that the land or something happens to the society, the land doesn't get dispersed elsewhere?
Yes, we were going to look at that. And
so I'm happy for that to be added in. We could add that into number 3, including...
Give the words.
So including consideration of how the land could revert to council if no longer required for this purpose in the future.
Yep.
Look, hoping that it doesn't happen, but it's just a fail.
We would probably expect it to be part of the report anyway, but it's worth specifying here in as much as it's been raised. So including options on how the land could transfer back to council in the future if no longer required by the museum
Yep.
for this purpose?
Yep.
Or maybe just if no longer required by the museum?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
That's fine.
By the museum, yeah.
Okay. Ali?
I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
I'm not seeing any information on land value, maps of the land, other interests potentially in the land. Why is that?
Because that's going to come in the staff report that you're asking for here.
In item 3.
But we are essentially supporting the gifting of the land
Subject to
without
the
any
report.
of the information
In
that
principle.
in the past.
In principle.
Yes, that. Yep. Yep, Rep.
So why do you need the land to be gifted as opposed to a peppercorn rent?
With the report.
Because it puts the Museum Society in a better position for fundraising.
But does that mean you want to mortgage the land? Otherwise, I don't see that it makes any difference.
It does. We found that with the Edgewood Pool Group, they couldn't raise money until they owned the land. It doesn't give surety for funders.
But if we give a whatever 50-year lease
or something.
for a peppercorn rent,
Well, it's not enough.
I just don't understand why we're needing to gift it unless there's a specific.
It's not enough, Ref, and I don't know if we're allowed to give more than
Right,
33.
can we
Well,
just
30, what we did
formalise
for
the discussion?
AMP show.
Right?
It's not
So
enough.
this was moved by Andrew and seconded by Seconder? Phil, right. Okay.
We've got a property person here. We've got Dan.
Dan, did you want to speak?
Down the man.
Dan might be able to offer us a bit of help on just leasing versus.
So what's the difference between gifting if you're not going to?
I think what you're saying in regard to security of tenure, the 33-year term relates to if you are leasing a portion of the land. Anything over 33 years requires a subdivision under the RMA, but if you're leasing the entire parcel of land, then the 33-year term doesn't apply. In relation to security of tenure, you are correct. You could look at a lease on a peppercorn basis for a long term, with various renewals if required. That is an option. With this particular property here, you talked about value. The value 2 years ago was about $200,000. It's not overly substantial. There are a number of other issues that probably do sit in the background that we haven't yet explored that will be explored in a report. Property staff have been working with the Lyttelton Historic Museum Society for a number of months, and we are progressing this anyway, and a report would have come to the community board and subsequent council anyway, just as a matter of course.
Is there any other interest in the land?
We're not sure, we haven't got to that
Because we
stage.
haven't asked. Okay.
Right, okay. Can we now debate it or no more questions? Thanks, Dan. Right, Andrew.
I'm hugely supportive of this. This is a perfect example of a community organisation working with the council to bring about a really good community outcome. You've heard through the deputation this morning the amount of work which has been done, the amount of skill and expertise which has gone into this project to date, the fact that the Museum Society has essentially reinvented itself and really taken this on as a challenge at a time when you might have expected a volunteer organisation would have run a mile from a broken building and a collection with no home. So I'd first of all like to commend the work done by the Museum Society in preserving and cataloguing the collection and also progressing this project to this point. What we've got here is an opportunity for a community-owned building on a key council-owned site in the centre of Lyttelton, in the commercial centre of Lyttelton. An amazing opportunity both for the museum to have a key site in a good location with good footfall, far better in fact than the site that it had previously down on Norwich Quay. And secondly, a great opportunity for the further regeneration of the main street in Lyttelton with a key facility, a key community-owned facility right there in the centre of town. What's become, in fact, the civic end of town as a result of other work that Council's done. Albion Square, the recently reopened Recreation Centre, the Lyttelton Library, which is under a full refurbishment, in fact, almost rebuild in part at the moment. It's absolutely the right place for the museum to be. So given the opportunity to look at gifting land to ensure this community-driven project to succeed, I would like to think that that's what we as a council would support and what we absolutely would want to do. And here we've got something that can be held up as an example of how a community group can be working with council to deliver a fantastic outcome, not only for that organisation, the Lyttelton Museum, but also for the Lyttelton community and in fact the wider Christchurch community, because when you look at the value and the significance of the collection that this building will house, if we look at it in terms of the maritime artefacts, the Antarctica artefacts, other unique things that have got a real history with Lyttelton, it's entirely appropriate that they should continue to be housed in a key site in Lyttelton and have a home there where they can be interpreted in the correct way. Just to conclude, I attended the meeting of the Lyttelton Museum Society where the decision was made by the wider group to pursue this site. The level of excitement and interest in this project, not only within the society but in the wider Lyttelton community, has been nothing other than commendable, and I think we as a council have got a responsibility to do what we can to see this project proceed. So I'm hugely supportive of this, and noting that the detail will come back in the report and we've left this wide enough for that to happen, I absolutely urge my colleagues to support this wholeheartedly today. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil, then Paul.
Look, I'm seconding this with full admiration for the work that Paula and the Community Board have done alongside the Museum Society. And I know we know that the Museum Society's got a long history pre-earthquake of being there, and there's a lot of artefacts and things that we will want to visit when this building is all done. So I'm thoroughly supportive of this. I think it's been a really good working partnership. We have to keep in mind that Lyttelton really was the landing point of our forebears, and that a lot of this early historical information, in fact, will be available once the building is up and it can be all put in place. So, you know, it's I think it's a no-brainer, but also it's a very important development in terms of the recovery and regeneration of our city. And I actually applaud the work that Paula and the Museum Society have done.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm just going to be really brief. Look, I'm very supportive of this. I think this shows that this Museum Society has actually kept and restored and filed all this historical information for our benefit in the future of who we were, where we came from, and I think it's really, really important. And I'm also a big fan of if we can actually just transfer the land to enable the Museum Society to actually fundraise the rest of the money to build this project. To me, that's a hand up, not a handout approach, and that's the approach that this council's taken over this last term, and so I'm really supportive of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that everyone said, and I agree with Andrew. You know, we as a council have a responsibility to enable these projects to go ahead in communities. However, we also have a responsibility as a council to be in full receipt of information before making decisions, and I don't have that information, and I've only heard this morning some of the information that we should have known before, including the value of the land, something
So the report will come back to council.
Yeah, there's a report.
Okay, don't interrupt.
Thank you, Vicky. And so, you know, unless we have the information to make the decision, we've also just found out this morning too that because it's the whole parcel of land, in fact a long-term peppercorn rental is an option, not the 33-year limit. These things need to be considered. We don't know who else could be interested in the land. I totally support what the museum does, and I would like to see the museum in a permanent home soon. But this has to be done properly and fairly, and I don't think we have the information, I certainly don't, to support this resolution this morning.
Okay, Raph?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I support this. I think my main question was why the gifting as opposed to the leasing, because that's what we tend to do. But, you know, I'm not that fussed. It's not a hugely expensive site. But, you know, I think that the museum is important. The feedback I had from the cruise companies in Sydney last week was they're very interested in what's going on in Lyttelton as well as the city, and to have a decent museum expressing kind of the maritime history of Lyttelton will be quite important as a kind of a tourist attraction. So I think it's a great job they've done. So I'm happy to support that, but we'd just like a little bit more information around the land in terms of leasing or gifting.
Okay, can I put the resolution?
Can I just have a right of reply as the mover?
Yeah.
Just very quickly, I just want to address one...
One minute, Yanni hasn't finished yet.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to speak quickly. Really supportive of 2. Actually, I think that's fine. I'm increasingly concerned that this council agrees to things in principle without getting a full report, and I do worry that does leave us quite exposed, particularly with the new Local Government Act, which the purpose is really to make sure that we're delivering cost-effective services and high-quality infrastructure to our communities, or something similar. So it's just like we have to actually be really clear that we go through a test in terms of options and information, and agreeing to things in principle when we don't have the substantial report does worry me. So, I don't object to this. I think the proposal, the idea makes a lot of sense, but I do wonder why we need 1 when we've requested 2. It does seem a bit premature.
We've been asked for 1, so that's the recommendation. But yes, you have the right of reply, Andrew.
Thank you, and I just wanted to comment on a couple of the issues that have been raised. I mean, what we're doing here is asking for a full report. By the time we make a final decision on this, we will have all of the full information that's required to make that decision, including detail around value, including a process around identifying other interests and what the necessities are there, around the gifting versus leasing, a full report that picks up all the issues that have been raised today. In terms of the synergy issue that RAF raises with the other opportunities that Lyttelton presents at the moment, I'm very cognizant of the way that the Museum Society have worked collaboratively with a number of parties on the waterfront and in the town centre, and I don't doubt that they would be happy to have a conversation with the cruise industry, with the port, with whoever was appropriate. Clearly, Lyttelton as a whole, we need to be a success and we need to work, and the more collaborative approach we can have between port and town, which really is the whole history of Lyttelton anyway, is going to be for the benefit of the whole thing. So for those who are thinking of voting against this because of a lack of information, what we're asking for is the further information that we need to make a good, confident final decision. I would urge support for this so that we can get to that point as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put it that those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Your vote recorded, Ali. So Ali's vote recorded against. Okay, that's passed.